that he created. Some of this is not Randy specific. So when you see the Anderson video, these are Lightboard videos done by Matt Anderson out of San Diego State. And this was kind of a quick way to help instructors after COVID happened. We wanted to have very good video content available quickly. So he has a lot of student use on his YouTube page. So we got licensed to his videos and added assessment questions to them. So these aren't Randy specific, these aren't Knight specific, but these are a good way to know that you have a lot of video content that covers an entire curriculum of university physics that can be assigned, but then also your students will have access to all this content in the study area as well. So we added all our media there for students in the study area. So we have the Anderson video lecture series. If you use those animated pre-lecture videos, we have those available for students as well. We created practice tests for every chapter for students. So we really kind of expanded our student resources to have, because we know they were kind of looking for things at home for extra additional practice or check their understanding. So all that's been added to the study area. But yeah, when you click new, you'll go through and you'll be able to see that here's some of the reading quizzes. I think it's easier to do the pre-built reading quiz if you're going to do it and then deselect items that you might not want, since these are hidden in the sections. It might be easier to create the pre-built assignment. And then he, you know, for instance, added like a new tutorial on vector addition. I think that's some of the feedback we got, is that a lot of instructors wanted more focus on vectors. So he did put some emphasis on that, along with adding some new challenging problems. That's some feedback we've gotten over the previous editions, that they're looking for, instructors are looking for a couple challenging problems at the end of the chapter. So he really put a focus on that as well. As far as new functionality goes, not too much new, as far as nothing, you know, I mean, the same kind of in a chapter questions, video content that has been available. So it's really been focused on content than necessarily the features. In the spirit of, now that we feel that the print book is in a good place moving forward, we'll probably be doing faster iterations on adding content and resources. So for instance, in the next year, we're going to be, Randy's currently working on book specific pre-lecture animations. So you'll probably see those by summer of next year. Each chapter, depending on the chapter, might have 1 to 2 pre-lecture videos that Randy's created himself. Another thing you'll see now that we've added that student workbook is probably by summer of next year as well, ready to go teaching modules that will be authored by Randy as well, but really how to approach chapter 1. Here's some in-class activities he recommends, how to use the worksheets. If you had to just pick a worksheet from the student workbook, this is the one he recommends. Pre-made assignment. So Randy's really going to take a lot more ownership on authoring in the mastering environment, as opposed to just say focusing on the print text. So that's stuff that you'll see just kind of happening now more frequently than say an addition update.
Oh, good. We'll have to go through it and see what's new and different. In the spring, we found those, what were they called? Direct measurement video labs?
Yes.
Did they disappear?
Yes. So we actually, because they were a license agreement that we had 12 of them and we removed them, but we're currently working on, you know, I think sometimes when we're licensing items, it kind of prevents a lot of the flexibility that we want to have for our customers. So we're actually in the process of creating experiment type videos that kind of serve the same purpose of allowing students to be able to measure or time something to do the same things, but expand on that library and offer even simpler experiments where it's just a visual, I almost look at it as like visual word problems.
Right.
Where like everybody does in every physics book I've seen, it's like the elevator, right? Like how does the weight change on a scale going up or down? But like actually showing the student of that actually happening in an elevator. So we'll have a lot of the same type of experiments that were in the direct measurement, but we also plan on just introducing simple visuals of a word problem, right? So that's something that we hope to have live as well by next summer. But unfortunately, we did in the licensing agreement with the direct measurement videos. So there'll be a semester and a half without those type of video content.
Now, how
So-
about, just to change topics real briefly, any changes at all to learning catalytics?
Not right now. I know that they're working on the next iteration of Learning Catalytics called Live Response, but that is in the works. And
Okay.
that is, so right now, Learning Catalytics is going to be the same experience that you've had.
Okay, so yeah, we use it a lot as well.
Right, right. So we're not changing any of that. But if you do have feedback around that and things that you're looking for, like I'm the person that you would send feedback for of what's important to you when you are using an in-class response system. So happy to get that feedback.
Okay, I will. The one thing.
Yeah, and Steve, as we start piloting, I'll make sure you're always someone kind of on the top of my list to offer those opportunities to, just because of your familiarity with mastering the Knight book and your use of Learning Catalytics. So as that comes up, I'll shoot you an email. If you're interested in trying it for a week, that new thing.
Great.
In the future. So that's more of an FYI, than anything else. But I'll keep you in the loop on that, since I know you use that.
Now back to what I have one more question here. I did have I think you've hit just about everything. Is there a new test bank for the 5th edition?
There is not. And that's actually some feedback I'd like to get from you. Is that something that you're looking for, is to have a priority focused on test bank questions? Because when I look at like the makeup of our usage nationally, the test bank questions tend to be not as used robustly as like the end of chapter questions or the tutorials. So not that we wouldn't put a focus on the test bank, but the data just hasn't shown us that. So it'd be interesting to get your feedback on how you use those, because it's something I think we want to revisit now that the whole world has kind of shifted over the past year.
Yeah, we've used it a lot over the years. Now, we did not use it when we had to go online because everything is available on Chegg, but it had some good problems in there. And I know in some earlier editions, it had the feature where you could say, give me the same problem with a new set of numbers.
Right.
And that means you can reuse the same test problems. Now, they're all multiple choice. We give a mixture of tests. Our tests are a mixture of multiple choice and free response. So it's a nice resource. It's a little bit out of date. The software for it is kind of old, but it still works. What do you think, Chris and Mahmoud?
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you guys worked on any ability to give quizzes through mastering, using the test bank, for instance, and where you could prevent the students from leaving the web page or anything of those kind of capabilities.
Sorry, I'm taking notes as well before I respond. Okay, so yes, without complicating things, in the short term, in the mastering environment that we're not focusing necessarily on adding a lockdown browser. Something that we are prioritizing though, for hopefully we're aiming for winter, that can't promise dates, is multiple pools, which would allow you to select almost like a learning outcome or a particular type of problem, select those questions, and then I'll have that be like presented to the student as number 1, and then do the same thing for number 2 to make sure that all students are getting a different type of question on the same learning outcome. So that way there is some flexibility that you can deliver a quiz, but maintain, because right now our pooling is here's 20 questions. It allows you to create a pool of 10 questions, but it doesn't really necessarily ensure that all students are getting the same learning outcomes, right? So that might not necessarily seem fair. So we are creating a way to create multiple pools within an assignment. And we think that would add some flexibility. Another thing that we're working on in mastering is a show work rubric grading capability that we're aiming to have by next summer. And essentially that would allow you to upload a PDF of questions that you have, and allow students to print or just view it, write down their paperwork, submit it, and then allow you to quickly and efficiently grade it by showing you all number ones at a time, all number twos at a time, and allow you to create rubrics on the fly. So that's something that we're doing to try to not necessarily add more security there, but at least put it in a way where students are going to have to show their process, show their steps, try to create that authentic assessment that they would be doing in the classroom. Now, that being said, there are longer term plans, and physics being one of the probably early movers to provide an option to where our these are all plans. I got to preface this, like none of this is like guaranteed. These are all things we're working on. Is like our math platform has a lot more robust testing capabilities, lockdown browser, proctoring options, things like that. And we are looking at the possibility of maybe consolidating the platform where physics would be a beneficiary of that, because we'll inherit a lot of those secure testing features. So that is something being discussed with physics potentially being a pilot. It wouldn't be like a forced move or anything. It'd be like, oh, these benefits are something I want to have in my course. You choose to pick those up. So that would be another longer term plan. But in the short, we're not prioritizing like a lockdown browser or anything in the current mastering environment.
Yeah, hey, Darren, let me jump in here real quick. So I do have one question. It's kind of news to me, but so that multiple pooling, that is coming though, right?
That's being prioritized to come. So that is a plan that I wouldn't promise, but it does seem like something that we are prioritizing.
Okay, because that's something I've heard from, I'm not sure if you all are interested in that, but I know I've heard from other instructors that more flexibility within the pooling would be helpful on tests. I think you guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Miami uses Respondus. Is that correct? Does that sound familiar?
We haven't used it. I haven't used it.
Okay. For some reason I was thinking Miami had like a license agreement with either Respondus. I thought it was Respondus, but then there's also like HonorLock or Proctorio, things like that. Where
some folks have used Proctorio. We did not do anything like that when we were online. We just used mastering and basically hoped that they would be honest, which some were, but basically we gave them exams where they had about 4 minutes to do a problem. So you don't have a lot of time.
So I actually have one more thing we're doing in mastering. It's not going to be live for night starting in the fall, but we hope to have it by spring. Let me show you an example. Let me share my screen after I find out where I want to go here. Inactive.
Just while Darren's pulling that up, the one thing I've noticed, Steve, when we've worked with instructors across Ohio and Michigan that I've talked to, a lot of them kind of abandon the idea of the lockdown browsers and stuff just because students have so many multiple devices that they end up searching for stuff outside of it. And they found
that's the problem.
So they found that putting more of the strict time limit on them, like you just said, tend to work better to at least try to hold them more accountable and necessarily doing the lockdown.
And right now, this coming semester, we're faced with giving exams back in the classroom again in person, which is great. But we no longer have the availability of any Scantron or machine grading. And they want us to do our exams directly on Canvas. And I know for one, I am very worried about having students sitting there with an open laptop taking an exam. It's just almost too much temptation. And guess what? They're a hell of a lot smarter about that kind of stuff than we are.
Right.
They stay one step ahead of us.
Right. They're pretty savvy. So one thing we're trying to do to at least, again, thinking about like how we're prioritizing multiple pools. I'll try to get the expected date for this, but this is one of the titles that's being prioritized. We have it available for the college physics version right now, but under this book source in your mastering item library. So here's kind of the whole strategy that I've been pursuing in physics is with Chegg and answers being everywhere, them going everywhere to find help, is when we look at our end of chapter problems, knowing that they can probably Google and find them pretty easily if they really want to put the effort into it, is put all the resources that they're looking for outside of the, just copying and pasting an answer. Like the video help, give a similar example or a worked example from the text, being able to see like how to set it up and build out our hint structure on the end of chapter problems to mimic a lot of the help that they're looking for elsewhere to keep them in platform. But then on the flip side, is creating an online additional problem bank of questions that are based off of the EOCs. So think of like almost like that twist in a question where it's like your students get a certain question right, and then you twist up a little bit of it, and then they like act like they've never seen it before. That's kind of what we did with our end of chapter questions is found questions. Let me go to like a particular chapter. And you can see like, it'll tell you what EOC we based it off of. So this one's based off 3.1. This one's off 3.7. But what we did here is just label them things that you wouldn't search. Right now, everybody would find like search for night KJF problem 3.36, right? And it would just pop up. So this adds a little bit of flexibility here to where when you Google this,
this is smart. I like this, Darian.
right? Like it's never really going to be like the question because it's not something that is tagged or correlated like in a Chegg library. Ping pong, there's a lot of other things that are going to come up about a ping pong ball before a physics question. So what we did is change titles, change the questions, keep the integrity of the EOC, but change it just enough, whether it's the object or something to make it harder to Google and paste, just copy and paste. Now we know that's just buying us time before they show up on Chegg, and Chegg finds a way to index them in a way that is easily found. But we do think that it buys us at least a term of having questions, and we'll think of a longer term strategy. But that's something we're going to be doing for night PSE 5e as well. So sometime in this semester, towards the end of the year, you'll notice, and you might already have it there as a placeholder for this additional problems. And that's something that we think in correlation or in companion with the new multiple pools. So being able to select an EOC, a multiple, one of these questions or a few of them, do multiple pools, put a time limit on it, and create a password. It at least creates a more secure environment that we had. Then adding on that rubric show your work capability really adds in another layer of like, okay, you can do this without any help in mastering, but can you actually mimic what I might be doing on a test, right? And show them that, show the process type question. Do you actually know how to show me how you got to your final answer and not just work to the final answer? So we're trying to create a story or flexibility for instructors to find what works for them without necessarily just focusing on like the lockdown browser and proctoring, though I do think we'll have a longer term solution for that if that's like a must have.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing we've done to get around Chegg, especially for homework, tests is a different problem. And of course, that was an issue when we were fully online, and we hope not to have to go back to that. But for homework, we just say, hey, you want to use Chegg? Be careful. And we have homework due every day. And then the beginning of class, they have a quiz where it's one of those homework problems with different numbers, and they have to solve it. So if they went to Chegg to get the answer, they still have to pass the quiz.
I like that.
And actually do the problem. So, and it
Right.
catches a lot of them too. And the quiz is actually worth as much as the entire homework assignment.
Yeah.
So it's,
Do they learn from their mistakes?
I don't know.
Yeah, hopefully most.
I
like
Some
that.
do.
Yeah. So I do want to kind of back it up again. I heard Darian talking about a few of like our, I call it collaboration, but cheating defenses that we have. So I'll kind of, I guess, let me know if you have any questions, but, one thing that we've seen instructors have success with is have a small window of availability, right? So maybe the test is only available today from 2 to 4. And then within that availability, set a time limit. So we can set up a time limit of once they've logged in at 2 p.m. or even 2:45, Maybe they only have an hour to do the test. Obviously here, I'm gonna share my screen. I did pull them up because I did want to kind of walk through them. It's probably a review for most of you, but I do like what we have in here. And so we have the time limit. Obviously, for a test, we don't want students to be able to print the screen. This is actually one of my favorite cheating defenses.
Yeah, we use that one a lot. So.
It's so simple. It just prevents when they only have an hour to do it and they have to type in the first sentence of the problem rather than typing in problem 3.3.21. It's great. And then Darian mentioned that requiring the password. So as students log in, you would say, okay, today's password is Gryffindor, right? Or Chewbacca, right? Right when they come in the door, right when you can announce it via Canvas, and they can't get in there until you allow them. And then of course, turning off the student access until after the due date, prevents students from going back in, screenshotting a problem, sending it to a neighbor. A lot of the things that we have in here seem simple, but also, as the more that gets implemented, especially the time limit, the items, and the limiting of the access, it prevents a lot of our, maybe sometimes I like to refer to them as like the team captain, right? The student that's really good at physics goes in, takes the test first, screenshots everything, and then sends them off to everything else. It kind of slows down that team captain from going through and sharing too much with, with roommates or friends. And so, a lot of those are simple things, and it sounds like you may be using them, but I do like them, a lot. And I'd be interested to hear how well you think they work as well. And, maybe Darian can pass along some feedback for us, because, this is something that everyone's facing and it's important to figure out.
Yeah, I know. Giving exams on mastering for people that were remote was, and I just finished one a week ago. You end up spending a lot of your time Googling the text in your question. And I got to the point where I would just put all the information in a JPEG figure, and then I'd say, like, the problem was find the electric field, and that seemed to work best. Although some people have told me that you can Google PDFs or JPEGs. I'm not sure of that.
Yeah, I like that idea. I did hear the new iPhone can take a picture of text and turn it into text, right? So you could take a picture of on my Zoom where it says Christopher Beer, and it's automatically going to turn that into text and then put into Google. But I do like that idea. So we can use that for one more semester, and then about half the students will have it. I hadn't thought about doing that.
So yeah, but if we're going to be in person in class, then we'll be giving tests on paper. Yeah.
And I do have a couple questions, just more looking for feedback. If you don't have other questions around the night 5th edition.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so one thing we're also like, we know that a lot, when you assign an item, right, and a student, whether they get it right or they get it wrong, sometimes it's just like, okay, move on to the next question. So we've been looking a lot more into branching activities, which allow students that are getting a concept or the quantitative portion of the question right to flow through, say, a activity on a learning outcome linearly, but then allowing students that have varying skills, maybe it's a math problem, maybe it's just a conceptual problem, to branch off into different pathways to get to still at the same endpoint, but it allows different school students making different choices to have different experiences. What are your thoughts about having a kind of like choose your own education pathway for students?
I don't know. It's very different than what we do now. I mean, when we give like an assignment, everybody has the same set of problems to work through, and that's the ones we concentrate on. So that sounds like it is something that could be useful. I'm not sure how it would work if you have 100 students in your class.
Right. Think of it almost
As
as
your-
like a pre-lecture type module, right? And then you'd still give your mastering homework after class.
Yeah, that's where it would fit in much better, I think.
Okay. And do you have a need for, we currently have the physics primer in mastering physics, which is really supposed to help students focus on the math they'll need, but presented in a physics context. And if you're not aware of the physics primer, let me know. And
Yeah,
Okay.
we've used it. Yeah.
So
We've used it the last few semesters.
do you feel that you would have a want to have a kind of upfront diagnostic test for students when they're entering the course, that then would present them with kind of that physics primer content based on like how they perform? Or are you okay with just using the math remediation physics primer information as is? Or is there a need for having a diagnostic up front?
We've done things like that before on paper. We've done what's that thing called, Chris, that Jennifer has to?
The force concept inventory.
Yep.
Right, that's not so much that's just to see where they stand. And we basically, what we do is we assign this primer, not all of it, because a lot of our students are taking Calculus 1 at the same time, but we assign it and we tell them that these are things that we assume that you know. And if you don't, if you're a little rusty on the quadratic formula or something, go back and review it, know where to look it up. It's in the appendix of the books. Just about all the math we use is in the appendix of the book. So
Right.
that's how we use those.
And do you, as a group, create custom questions often, or do you use the editor at all, or do you use just the content as it comes?
I've been creating lots of custom questions the last year. We did all our exams on mastering, so we had to create all those questions. And then in the last fall and last spring, we did all of our in-class problems. We put it onto mastering. And those are pretty basic. I didn't try to do anything fancy because I had no idea what I was doing when I started, and got a little fancier at the end.
Yeah.
But mastering is definitely better with vectors than learning catalytics is.
Right. All right. Thanks for letting me ask questions beyond the scope of informing you what was new on night. So I appreciate the feedback.
I still haven't gotten too far into writing questions where you select certain parameters to be variable and give them a range of variation and stuff. I didn't have confidence in myself to get that right.
Right. If there was if you felt that the tool had a nice tutorial or just made it a very streamlined process, would that encourage you to create more custom questions? Or is it more like, don't realistically think I would spend that much time doing
No, I think we would have. I mean, as the year went on, starting not knowing anything about how to do it, basically how to do a multiple choice question, and then doing some of our in-class problems, I got a little more sophisticated. But there's a lot more that I could probably do if I had the courage to try it.
Yes. There was one more thing I wanted to show you all. Just, if you have time and you're encountering something in your mastering course and you're like, I wish I could tell somebody about it, or you have an idea, we've added, it's not live in your night course, but it should be there by the time classes start. We added this mastering ideas portal in the instructor resources. So when you're in your course, if you click on instructor resources, go here. This is a pilot we're doing. I just think it's easier to find out what to prioritize when we're hearing from instructors while they're using the platform. So here you'll see a bunch of ideas already. We've already had 62 ideas brought up, and you can see that people voted for the ones that are the most important to them, or and then you can comment and make a discussion with it. But you can also just add a new idea. So if there's something you don't see on here that you think we should be focusing on, feel free just to quickly type an idea out there, and we review it. And this is a nice way for us to prioritize what to focus on, but then also use our time wisely. Like if there's a particular issue on here or a problem to solve that you're passionate about, we'll know that you made that comment and we can contact you and talk to you about it.
Oh, okay. And how do you get to that? It's
So instructor resources on your left nav. You click here, you launch it, and it'll be the first thing up here, Mastering Ideas portal.
It's not on mine. I'm looking at my
Yeah,
course with
it's not live yet for Night. We're probably going to be pushing that live in the next week.
okay.
So
Okay.
That's cool. I haven't seen that.
yeah, it's a pilot we're doing, especially during COVID. It was hard. Obviously, we're not going to campus. So it's harder to get feedback from customers. So we thought, well, why don't we just put it in the platform and see if we can get feedback that way and just make better use of time instead of blindly contacting people. We can find the people that are interested in particular features that we might be prioritizing and make contact with them to make sure we're hearing the problem right.
Yeah.
So I blabbed a lot. I kind of wanted to show you what was new, but also kind of pull the curtain back a bit on what we're prioritizing. So hopefully I didn't create more confusion of what is available and what we're working on, but I did want to let you know how we're thinking about what we're prioritizing moving forward, especially as we look at the 5th edition of Night. The print book is in a really good spot, we believe, but now we can focus on more of the experiences that we have online and prioritize those with a faster cadence than, say, waiting for an edition.
Okay. Oh, I know one question I had for you because I want to put it on the syllabus. The subscription prices for our students, which include what we suggest. In fact, we almost force them to get select the option that includes the e-text and also includes mastering, and it also includes learning catalytics. So what are the prices on those? There's a 1 semester and a 2 semester one roughly.
Right.
Yeah, let me pull. Steve, are you still using Perusal?
No, we're not using that anymore.
Okay.
So we tell them you've got with this package, you get everything you need. You get the e-text, mastering, and learning catalytics.
Gotcha.
So go ahead, Corey. If you know the price, I didn't know if this was an IA account or not, but I know the pricing, national pricing.
Yeah. So for if students are only taking what is it, 191 and only need single semester access, it's $69.99. And then for the 2-year access, so it's multi-semester, so it kind of gives them a break where they could take 191 in the fall and then wait to take 192 the following fall, but that's $119.99. So it's 70 and 120 are the prices.
Okay. So yeah, it's gone up a little bit, I think, but that's understandable. I guess it's still a lot better than buying the actual textbook.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And I think you know this, but that students can get a copy of the loose leaf book inside Mastering. There's a discounted loose leaf version, which I would recommend, because I think Darian's probably going to kick me on this one. I mean, our book is like $200. Like I would say for all students, get the Mastering, use the e-text, and then do that discounted loose leaf, and you'll still save a ton of money, because that $200 book, it doesn't even include Mastering. I mean, it's, and I can show you how to get there. It's just built right into Mastering. Students can get the loose leaf. There's no shipping. There's no shipping fee. It gets shipped right to their house. It's a pretty nice program that we've kind of shifted to away from that bundle of loose leaf and access code that everyone has to buy. Now,
right.
If students want it, they can get it. And those that don't want the loose leaf, don't need to spend the extra money on it. So I'm pretty happy with where we're at with that.
Okay, well, good. So,
And then I do want to, there's one thing I want to add, and mostly just because Steve, you and I have talked about this a lot, and I've sent a million emails to our platform people over the years, but we had always kind of grumbled about the speed of mastering. One thing that's happened over the past, like I'd say probably 18 months, is we moved everything, to the cloud, right? So instead of being our Pearson servers, it's now all hosted by, I think it's hosted by Microsoft, but it could be Amazon. It doesn't matter. So that has been the biggest focus we've had, is moving everything into the cloud. And I'm not trying to say this is some big marketing thing, but what we're seeing in mastering is it's way faster. So yay for that. But the reason why I'm telling you all this is that when Darian's talking about these updates that we're trying to make within mastering, I think, and Darren, correct me if I'm wrong, I think they're going to start happening a lot faster than they have in the past, because our big focus for our platform teams have been getting everything moved over from our Pearson server to the Microsoft server so it can run faster. And now all these men and women who are working so hard to move it to the cloud now have more availability to make more changes for us. So in the past, I might have done a little eye roll at Darian when he said, oh, this is coming, we're working on this. But now that we have everything moved over to the cloud, and I keep saying that because it's just another server, right? So now we have everything being managed by Microsoft. Our platform team and our product team people are focused on making these changes. And so those are two things that I kind of had to give you a whole story to tell you why I was excited, but we're way faster. So hopefully you're seeing that, Steve, in mastering in the e-text for sure. And some of these changes Darian's talking about, we're going to get them, like they're coming. And I'm excited about, our platform engineers having more time to work on the fun stuff, because,
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times spending time on things that are not considered fun, but now we're getting to a place where we can focus on the fun stuff.
Yeah. I mean, fast is fun, but that can't be measured. It's just frustration of like, I'm clicking this link, it's not moving. But so hopefully if you haven't noticed it, keep an eye out for it, Steve. Let me know, if it feels a little faster, if you're seeing less delays. Because I know you and I we've spent some time kind of grumbling about how slow it was, last time I was in your office, which 18
And
months.
I can tell you one thing, when we started giving exams on mastering in the spring of 2020, I think all of us would have a few students that got knocked off while taking the exam. And I haven't had that happen in quite a while. I don't think it happened in the spring. It didn't happen in the summer. And that may be because it's your new hosting site.
Yeah. Cool. Good. Yeah. Keep me in the loop. When it got moved over for the cloud, that was you were one of the first people I thought about, but I've tried to be conscientious of it as I get into mastering physics or the MyLab. And it is, the pages load faster, the homework problems load faster. It's, you may not notice it, but, for me, they are for sure. There's a lot less waiting, which is good. Hopefully a lot less frustration and time spent for you waiting as well, while you build assignments.
Yeah, I'm accessing the e-text right now and it pops right up.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I'm happy. I'm a lot, more confident coming into your office now. So does anybody have any questions for us? I think Steve mentioned he had to kind of load it in a course. Does anybody want to jump into Canvas and try to load a course into Canvas, integrate things? General questions, we're happy to dive in.
You've answered most of mine. I'll keep thinking here, but
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, I'm
I
sure-
got all my answers.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm good for now. Anything else I can probably email you. You are going to do that virtual help session.
Yep.
I think I have the flyer for that. We'll
Good.
get that out to the students, because if they have trouble accessing it, you guys can solve it a lot faster than we can.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
that worked real well last year.
Agreed. It is so much more efficient than me sitting inside Upham or Anderson or Pearson Hall, because then like, if I'm over in Pearson, there's no way your students are going to hike over to me if it's raining or hot or, so I think that's one thing with the pandemic, I probably won't ever go back to doing those on campus. I get so many more students when I'm in an open Zoom meeting.
Right.
Yeah, mention it to students, give them my Zoom link, they can come, I have the window. My first one is next Tuesday from 3 to 4. Tell them they don't have to come at 3. I'm going to have a surge of students at 3, and I'm going to let students in. It's kind of like an open house model rather than take your ticket at 3 p.m. So if you think about mentioning that, it would be appreciative. I would appreciate it on their behalf, because when everyone comes in at 3, they all just have to sit there and wait. So more of a steady flow is going to be beneficial to them. Mahmood, yeah, I'm not sure if you're familiar. So basically I open up my Zoom meeting, students come in, I have 5 days open up for them. They just come in and I just answer all the questions they have, get them set up, make sure they're good to go. On that same sheet, I do have a link to our customer support. So they can go there as well. If they think they're having like a big issue, I recommend they just do a chat or an email and just email it in, but they can call. Back to school, the phone lines get busy. So for me, I don't want to talk to anybody on the phone. I just chat all my issues to AT&T or chat my issues to, Verizon or whoever, my internet, my cell phone. But they can do whatever they want. That our tech support's helpful if they need something now. And my virtual office hours, I like to think are really helpful. If they can find a window of time. Does everybody have that flyer?
Yeah, I got it.
I got it as well.
Yeah, I've got it. So we'll get it posted for the students. So.
Perfect. Yep.
We'll
And
do
then
the same.
good. Yeah. I'm always happy to help. Hopefully Steve and Chris have seen that in the past. Mahmood, just reach out. I try to be here. I open up those office hours for students. So I don't get any student emails, which kind of frees up my inbox for emails for instructors. And I go through, I'm just on that email inbox all day during back to school. And I look, I look for names of people I know. So reach out and, and I'll try to get back to you guys as soon as I can and make sure you're settled, and if you're reaching on behalf of a student, I'll get them settled in as well. I work hard those first few weeks to make sure everybody has a good back to school experience.
Okay, great.
Perfect.
Okay,
All right,
sounds good.
All right, I'll be in
I think-
touch. Reach out if you need anything. And yeah, thank you so much, Darian, David, for being here. Your questions, physics team as well, Miami physics team.
Well, thank you guys for taking the time and in for some interesting semesters.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Let's hope so.
Oh, okay, take care, everybody.
Alright.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Corey. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks.